still think.
Yeah.
And then I have to double back and shirt all over the her leg. I went into the office
I didn't come to that.
At the last one? The first one? I should have just
That was at the first one.
Oh, I should have put a co-op on that. And everybody.
Nope. We should have virus or something.
I would guess. I was going to look today, but I was so busy. I would guess I stumbled into this building pretty hard.
I never said
Was that like 5 months ago?
Like, yeah, back when the interest rates were low, about 3 years ago or whatever.
That's not such a very good example.
Because redoing it at times.
It's the best team.
You probably got as much land in the school district as I do.
True.
Almost none. An acre.
He was over 7.
Really?
That's what she thought. I thought it was less than.
I've heard Julie like that. They're playing basketball. Well, I showed it up on the Wednesday. I think they were fresh.
I wrote it where I knew and it always says it all up.
Similar spouses.
Take them off the track to do wind sprints.
I wonder if I should bring up the co-op in this meeting. That's what I really want. See if the meeting like this.
People are Is that good enough? I have duct tape. I will use it.
You duct tape your ass to the bench? I don't talk much. I'm afraid of people.
Speak on the cat.
Yeah, you should have.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. Call this meeting to order. We have a quorum here. At this time, we correspondence, visitors, open forum. Anybody would like to say something before we go into the presentation?
Is there a chance after the presentation to ask questions?
Yes, we'll answer questions and have discussion and everything during, after, whenever. Please. That's why we're here. Thank you.
Okay, you'll have to forgive us. We had two, I think, circa 1993 projectors, and none of them were. I mean, both go out, the other one didn't work. So Josh brought this from home, so we thank Josh for help, but it's not as strong. So,
Can everybody see that?
all lights off. You can sure try it. The light's just not as bright. These are going to be hard to read. If you are welcome to open up like the Battler app or the website, and you can click on the presentation there so you can follow along if you want to see the slides a little more clearly. I don't know that. Oh, that's actually not too bad. You're going to have to do all of that.
That's pretty good right there.
I
don't want to get too
There we go. Okay, so just a welcome from the school board. We're very thankful for everybody for coming. Why are we here? We want to make sure everybody's informed and educated on why the school board has done a resolution to go to a vote to do an opt-out. And so we're going to do a little presentation on how school funding works. The school is funded by 3 different funds: the general fund, capital outlay fund, and special education fund, and I'll go into each of those. The special education funds can be used only for special education students and programs. We evaluate and serve all students regardless of their disabilities, ages birth through 21. So these costs include all of our salaries and benefits for our special education staff, any therapy students need, which includes occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, testing and evaluation, and then any out-of-district placement. We have, in the last few years, really paid very close attention to moving any possible allowable costs from the general fund to the special education fund. So an example of that, as the superintendent, but also the special education director, 40% of my salary comes from the special education fund, because 40% of my day is very valid, is spent on special education duties. So we try to use what we can from the correct funds. So this just shows the revenue and then expenditures for 23-24. You can see that most of the revenue comes from our taxes, and then most of the expenses are for the wages and benefits for our administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, and then substitute teachers as well. And that is only for the special education department. Right now we have 3 full-time teachers. We have 4, and then last year we did have someone who started a new career path, and so we did not fill that position. We just spread that work amongst the 3 that we have. And then we have gone down in pairs. We have 5 paraprofessionals right now. You'll notice the green on the slides. That is something that I've added. Anything that I added or changed from the slides that we shared with the public a few days ago is in green, just so that you understand why those are, where those are changed. And then I had SLP on their speech language pathologists. Capital outlay is our district funds for our larger purchases such as technology, textbooks, buildings and grounds, maintenance, and upkeep, and our transportation. We do have the flexibility to transfer 45% of the tax revenues to our capital outlay fund each year. And you'll hear me repeat myself, but you'll see they're bolded and highlighted and things like that. We cannot use our capital outlay fund, if there's $1 million in there, we can't transfer $500,000 or $450,000, 45% of that. We can only transfer 45% of the revenue that year. Capital outlay is not an unlimited resource, and then the levy was capped at $36.50 per student for taxes payable in 2025. Everything's based on student enrollment. In 2025, we took $750,000 for this school year. The max that we could take was $830,960, so we still are, trying to be fiscally responsible. We did not take as much as we, possibly could have. Capital outlay revenue mostly comes from taxes. There's a little bit of federal funding and then any donations and a little bit of interest. The expenditures, you can see our biggest expenditures. This was 21-22, and our biggest expenditure is what we're transferring to the general fund. We did have the big bus was purchased that year, and then our technology, curriculum, subscriptions, those kinds of things are part of that as well. And then we did start 23-24. We did our HVAC project, and so we have new heating and cooling. The heating was what was absolutely necessary. We couldn't fix the heat in the elementary. If something would have broken when you went to fix it, the rusted parts kind of just fell off. You couldn't even eBay those parts. And so we did have some mini splits in the rooms, but to add the cooling was a nominal expense, and it just made sense and was much more energy efficient to people. So we had that HVAC project done last summer. We actually came in under budget by about $20,000 on that project, which I don't know, Barb and I, that's kind of unheard of, so.
Right, but we did spend almost $1 million on that this year. That was just a little part of the project.
Yes, yeah, that 400 and what is it, 69,000, whatever, it was just one, that was the payment that year. We spent almost $1 million on the remainder of it this year. And then the next biggest expense was what we were transferring to the general fund. Okay, so the general fund is what pays our staff. Approximately 80% is used to pay salary and benefits for teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators, custodians, librarians, school counselor, any kind of staff. It also pays for our building utilities, our busing and transportation, the costs and expenses of those, the actual buses and transportation vehicles are purchased out of capital outlay. Our classroom supplies, anything that's consumable. And then the revenue comes from property taxes and state aid. State legislature determines the maximum that we can request for the general fund, and that is based on student enrollment. And the tax levies, or another way to look at those is the rate of tax, are different for ag, homeowner, and business owners for the general fund. For the capital outlay fund, it is the same rate across the board for ag, homeowners, and business owners. Okay, this just shows our general fund revenue. We do rely heavily on state aid. We'll have a school district map, I think, on one of the next slides, and that will explain that a little bit. So we do have our local efforts, and then almost half of our general fund revenue does come from our state aid, so we do rely heavily on that. Expenditures, we're at about 75% for wages and benefits, and then supplies, utilities, insurance would be the next biggest chunk. And then our co-curricular activities with, which I have listed out on there, like choral inter, one act, you can read it, chorus, the band, all of our athletics, those kinds of things. Okay, so all of this is green. We added this in. Barb did some figuring of some expenses for us. Our property liability insurance, just some examples of the increases that we've had in expenses. In the last 2 years, our liability insurance went up 34%. So in 22-23, it was $49,495. This school year, we paid $66,209. So that's how quickly our expenses can increase, just like we all see in our expenses increasing at home. Health insurance is kind of a misunderstanding. Some people are under the impression that everybody has at least a single health insurance covered by the school. I would love for that to happen. We're not able to do that at this time. We do the best we can, but we don't pay for a full single health insurance plan for our teachers or our classified staff. For the highest deductible, which is $3,500, our staff pays 19% more this year than they did 2 years ago. So those expenses continue to go up as well. So in 22-23, staff paid $154.24 out of their paycheck each month for that highest deductible insurance. That's for the single plan. The family plan is a whole other story. It's insanely expensive. And then for this year, $182.24 comes out of their check for that single insurance. So why don't we have enough in the general fund? Our district is geographically small, so you'll see that we are the small little purplish bluish one in the middle. We're surrounded by the Woven School District, which is kind of pink, and then to the south we have the ADO School District, and so you can see why the districts to our north and to our south are both self-funded school districts. What that means is they have enough property tax revenues to run their school districts off those revenues. So they don't actually receive, other than a little sparsity funding, they don't receive state aid because they're able to spread that tax responsibility out around a lot more people than what we have the ability to do. funding is based on student enrollment, and that determines our state tax and state aid revenue. In the last 10 years, our enrollment has declined by 50 students. We are holding strong. I'm feeling positive about our student enrollment. Last year when we started, I think we said 205, and right now we're at 219. Next year, we're right now looking at about 215, and I feel like that's a solid number. So still going down a little bit, but hopefully it'll go down as slowly or not at all as we can. Out of our legislative district, we are one of the few districts that do not receive sparsity funds. In order to be a sparse school district, your district has to be over 400 square miles in size, under 500 students, and it has to be over 15 miles from your secondary attendance center, so 6 through 12 attendance center, to the next one. So, for example, Hogan and Mid-Central, Eureka, they all receive a max of $110,000. Did that pass? Okay, so that will increase now to 175.
No, 137.
Oh, wait.
137.
Oh, 137, by up to. Okay, so they brought it down. They were looking for 175, they wanted to increase that at the legislature. It did pass, but to 137 is the max that schools will get. So I don't know if those schools will get that maximum amount or not, it just kind of depends. Faulkton, Miller, and Selby, and ABO district receive some, not the maximum amount. Okay, so what have we done to save money? In 23-24, we had Walker Rose was the band teacher, and he and his family moved, so we had Katrina take on the band program as well as the music program, so we had one person doing both departments there. 24-25, we absorbed 3.5 positions this last year. So we had Mr. Tuttle leave, Ms. Sparger leave, and Mrs. Bisick left, and then Mrs. Weidlich left, and that I counted that as a half of a position because we still had to hire back a tech director. Otherwise, the rest of those responsibilities, all of those services are still here. We just spread the responsibility among all of our existing staff. We have gone from 9 paraprofessionals in 2022 to, I had 6 on there. I didn't do that right. It was actually 5. We went from fall semester to spring. We've had some changes in our pairs, and so I didn't calculate that correctly. Right now we have 5 pairs. We have made every effort to save money, showing those things above, yet we do our best to also take care and retain the employees that we have, because we have the most outstanding staff, both classified, certified. The board values all of our staff, and 2 years ago, I believe it was, classified started offering that same health benefit to the classified staff as well as certified. That wasn't a benefit that they could get before, but in order to make sure that we could hire and retain high quality people and have them on our team, we want to try to take care of them as best we can. We have reached out to the Hogan School District. That was a question that came up several times last year about consolidation, and they are not interested in that option. How much are we spending on our staff? So we have a salary survey that goes out every year, and not every single district participates, but a lot do. And we put in what we spend on different things, and then we can see the rankings of where our school is at compared to all of the other districts and things like that for different positions. So for paraprofessionals, we rank 80th out of 90 reporting districts. We have 148 districts. Sorry, yeah. Okay. Teacher average salary, we rank 95th out of 105. Administration, for my position, we rank 70th out of 82. For the middle school, high school principal position, 50th out of 64. And the business manager position, 76th out of 104 reporting districts. We also want to note the school board gets paid 0. We have had a volunteer board since 2012. We are very, very grateful for them. We keep them in meetings until 11 or 11:30 half the time. We have lots of special meetings the last few years, especially with opt-out and co-op meetings and things like that. They have had a very, very tough job, and we are grateful for everything that they do. I know I would probably still be in this job if I didn't have the school board that I have. And I did add a note because I had somebody from the public ask, it was a really good question. like, do other school board members get paid? And that's not something that we really typically talk about. We don't know of any other school board that doesn't get paid. Usually they get paid per meeting. So it might be $50 a meeting. Some you can get paid up to $160 each per meeting, plus mileage. And I know Barbara said she's checked several different minutes and things like that at different schools, and all of those school board members receive some sort of compensation for their meetings and for their time. So I would like to thank the school board for everybody. So this slide, though, I want to make sure everybody understands, this is not, we have most of our staff here. I'm so grateful they came. This is not a, oh, poor us. I went through this with the staff. We talked through this. This isn't a feel sorry for us. We're towards the bottom of the barrel here. This is just showing that South Dakota is already at the bottom when it comes to ranking and what we're paying our public educators. And when it comes to fiscal responsibility, we feel strongly that we're doing the very best we can. And I know our staff knows that our school board is doing the best we can. When you only have so many dollars, you basically just have to figure out where you're going to put them. And so the staff is always the priority when that question comes up. But we're definitely not overspending on our staff. I thought it was important to illustrate that. Okay, so what are our options? Our general fund does not support our current staffing programs. We've been transferring from capital outlay for several years. So this either means that we need to start looking at cutting programs, losing staff, and that means student opportunities. Or we can continue the tradition of educational excellence by asking support from you, our taxpayers, and asking for more tax dollars to retain necessary staff and offer competitive wages for new staff. So in 2012 to 2016, there was an opt-out before the school bond started. The timing worked out well on that. They could have asked for up to $300,000 each year for 5 years. And this just shows that the opt-out dollars that were received over that amount of time was 38%. They received $575,000. They could have received I think it was 1.5 million. And so they asked for 38% of what they could have asked. That is the goal for this school board administration. Our goal is to ask for only what we need. Across South Dakota, in tax year 2024, there were 62 of 148 school districts that had an opt-out in place. A few area schools, Miller area, $585,000 opt-out for 3 years. Colvin, $200,000 for 7 years, which I believe is up this year. This year, next year. Bowell, $730,000 for 5 years. Selby area, $390,000 forever. And then Faulkton, $650,000 for 5 years. We just passed that one last year. There are 6 new opt-outs this year. There are a total of 68 districts now in South Dakota that are opt-out. The school bond for the new school, we do have 11 years left. In 2021, Mark worked with Toby Morris to refinance, and that did result in over $1 million worth of savings. The general fund balance, it just shows on this chart before and after the capital outlay transfer, and then the lowest monthly balance for that year. So 2024 was the lowest and what I think our scariest balance that she had. Our expenses each month in 2024 were right around $190,000. She figured them out for 2025 so far, and it's $191,116, which with the increase in cost of everything, we thought was actually lower than what we thought it might be. Historically, what has been transferred from capital outlay to the general fund, this just shows in different years what it has been. So 2020, 2021, with COVID, that was a low amount because we were able to use the COVID dollars to supplement the budget. Otherwise, 21, 22, 155, 200,000, 134,000. And again, we can transfer up to 45% of the taxes we collect each year, and we cannot use capital outlay as a savings account. So what are we currently asking for? The vote that will come up on April 8th, what we would like you to vote yes for, is that we would have the ability then to ask for up to $350,000 for 4 years. And then it would have to come to another vote or whatever might happen after that. So it's 4 years, we would only ask for what we need. The first year we would ask for the full amount because we would only get, because of the tax year and the school year, we would only get half of that. So we would get $175,000 that year. So we would still likely need to transfer some from capital outlay next year. The goal is that after that we can stop transferring from capital outlay. So the capital outlay taxes will hopefully go down, even though we will be requesting a little bit more in the general fund taxes.
So that's,
and then-
Amber, that's a total of 1.4 then? That's 350 a year, not 350 divided by 4?
Correct, yes, up to 350 each year. But we could ask for 100,000 the next year, or 175,000 the next year. We don't have to ask for the whole 350. So like I said, our goal in like 2012 to 2016, they asked and collected 38% of what they could have. So the goal is that we won't have to ask for that total amount.
Could you ask for zero?
To determine what we need. What's that?
Could you ask for zero if you get bigger enrollment?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, good question. If our enrollment goes up, if we have some local community members working really hard on some great fundraising ideas. If we get those funds and we're able to use those in the general fund, we hope we don't have to ask for any. Absolutely, good point. So this is just an example of, I worked with Adam Roseland to come up with the very best approximation we could come up with. How much will my taxes go up? Eggland, it would be about $53.96 per $100,000 value. Homeowners, $120.77 per $100,000. And business and other properties would be $249.92 per $100,000 in value.
That's assessed value, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Taxable value.
Taxable value. And Adam is going to come share some information or help answer some questions too.
Yeah, this is based off of the full 350,000.
Yes.
Yes, these numbers are based off of asking the full 350. Okay, so now I can try to write something. Ask some questions. Adam, did you want to share yourself now while we have lights? Hold up.
Yeah.
Okay. He has a couple things he's going to share.
Well, let's see what it looks like first.
Turn them off, you gotta cut this off. Sorry.
Yeah, all of us look. So I sent Amber a spreadsheet of all of the mill levies across every tax jurisdiction in Potter County. It has the school mill levies on there as well. I don't know how all it is, but when you come to my office and want to talk about my taxes, I find it sometimes to be a helpful visual aid, so be there and I'll refer to it a few times. I guess while we're
Keep talking.
I want to push back a little bit on the idea that we don't have enough tax revenue in the general fund for our school to operate because of our geographic size. That's a different issue. That's an issue of, like, if you want to call it fairness or a taxpayer obligation to the school district. You know, a taxpayer with property in Holman or ABO school district has a much lower mill levy that they pay on capital outlay and special education because it's about the same number of tax dollars asked for in those funds divided over a much larger taxable value in the school district. So the idea of geographic size has more to do with, you know, what you as an individual taxpayer pay, not what the school has to operate on, because So, the columns are the different mill levies that are paid in each taxing jurisdiction, and when it comes to the school, in each mill levy fund. And then across the rows are Gettysburg City, Hoboken Town, Lebanon Town, Tolstoy Town. And then down farther on the spreadsheet is, if you're outside of town, the Gettysburg School District and the Hoboken School District. Every single mill levy is the same across all three classes of property. Everyone in the county pays 2.2 mill levies per $1,000 of taxable value to the county. The school general fund is different. The school general fund, the South Dakota legislature takes, every year they set a new general fund mill levy maximum. And the way they do that is they take a education funding formula, and essentially the aim of that funding formula is to come up with a dollar amount that it takes to educate a child for a year. This last year it was what, 7,300?
Close to 8.
Close to 8. Okay, let's just call it a flat 8 for simple math. They say it takes $8,000 in the general fund to educate one child for 1 year. And they take how many school children there are in the whole state, multiply times that $8,000, and that's the tax dollars requested across the whole state. And they divide that by the total taxable value of all property in the state. And then they divide it up between ag, non-ag, and owner-occupied. Ag gets a lower tax rate on the general fund because we are an ag-friendly state. Back in the era of Janko, they used to be just ag and non-ag. And then in the era of Janko, I believe, I might have my history wrong here, he said we need to give owner-occupied property owners a break as well. So ag property gets the best tax rate, owner-occupied gets the next best tax rate, and then everything that's not ag or occupied is a higher tax rate. So my point is, and excuse me if I go off on little tangents here and there, the school general fund levy, that mill levy is taken times the total taxable value in our school district, and whatever we come up with, if it's less than that $8,000 per student, state aid kicks in the rest to get you to $8,000. So, right now, the general fund is made up, like what percentage is made up by local levy? Like 40%?
Yeah.
So even if our school district were to double in size, we would get no more total dollars in the general fund than we currently have. Does that make sense to everyone?
If our area doubles, you mean?
Well, if our taxable value doubles.
Okay, right. But our students, it's all based on our students.
Right. That's holding student enrollment constant.
Right.
So the point is, your general fund, you're made whole by the state and through state aid. There are only a handful of school districts throughout the state that don't rely on state aid. The 300, so 350,000. Back a few slides on Amber's presentation, she was showing how much was transferred from, and I'm going to be repeating that for her a little bit. She was showing how much went from capital outlay to general fund over the past however many years. And the reason they're asking for 350 is because it's double 175, and 175 is about what they think they can, if they bring in another 175 in general fund, then maybe I looked at some of the top dollar land as far as assessed value goes in the county. And so in my office, some of the best quarters in the school district are valued at about $300,000. So at $53 and however many cents per $100,000, take that times 3, $150, $160 per quarter. It's about $1 more per year. That's I don't love more written, but property taxes are so discussed. So, are there any questions for me?
Well, you're talking on commercial land. You're talking a $250,000 or $250 increase on $100,000 worth of value. When you're looking at ag land, it's a $50 increase, and a homeowner is maybe a $100 increase. I think you're asking a pretty steep increase on the commercial side. For something that's only valued right now at 50-some thousand, you're going to want another $120 to $25 a year. On something that's only increased $20,000 worth of assessed value, and the taxes right now are double what they were 5 years ago. And now you want to put another $125 on that. I think that is a pretty steep ask.
On the whole, I agree with you. The powers that we decided that we're an ag-friendly state and we're an owner-occupied-friendly state. And in the general fund, they are taxed differently. That's a South Dakota legislature issue. I'm not trying to discount the point. I'm just saying that's beyond our control. And it wouldn't make them whole, but the non-ag or commercial properties would be getting some of the benefit of that reduced capital outlay tax ask as well.
If anybody has questions or comments, I do ask that you either speak up really loud or allow us to bring you the microphone. We are live streaming everything, so we want everybody to be able to, it might be best just to come down here and use the microphone. I have a teacher voice, so I'm probably okay, but that way our live stream viewers can hear everything.
Just to sum up what you said, Adam, so the disparity between the classes is not up to the school board, that's up to the South Dakota State Legislature, correct?
Yeah, Tyler's question is the tax rate disparity between the different classes of property is set by the South Dakota Legislature, not over the school board, and yes, Tyler, that's correct. It's been that way for I don't know how long, at least since the January years. Before that, the disparity between ag and non-ag.
Say, Adam, is anybody from the state here tonight that can speak to the legislature's language and how they come up with the disparity we're talking about? Because I agree with this other gentleman, there is a huge equity problem because we're an ag and non-ag state. It's not really fair to the businesses and non-owner occupied people in town to be punished with such a high levy when the ag people aren't. Now, my solution is, and I don't know if the state allows this, if you look at the funding that the school is asking for, $350,000 for 4 years, why not bump everybody up in each of the classes by the same amount, which would be about $1. I don't know if the state allows that or if they have a prohibition against it.
They don't allow that. We actually asked them if there was any special taxing district, anything we could do with that.
Microphone.
Not allowed.
For Barb.
Oh, with Barb.
You're loud, but you're not that loud.
I'm loud anyway, yeah. I'm kind of loud anyway. Okay, I did ask the state about that because one of our board members asked about that. If we could do a special taxing situation like that versus just doing a general fund opt-out. And they said that there's something like that at the state.
Just to kind of piggyback on that, I can't tell you title, chapter, and verse, but I have read it in South Dakota codified law in the general fund.
I'll try to make this quick. I got confused about where the $350,000 came from. I wasn't here at the school board meeting last month where it was bounced around basketball. Well, maybe it could be 400, maybe it could be 300. So, assuming that the opt-out is voted on and passes, what will change in the school district? And the reason I'm asking, when you look at the data, the numbers don't lie. We're spending $13,300 per student here. If you add another $1,600 or $1,700 per student, what's going to change? I can send my kids to college for that much.
Why would we be adding the $1,600 per student?
Well, 350,000 divided by 219 is all of that.
Right, but like we discussed, if we bring in this,
If you have more questions, come on down and then you can just pass it back and forth.
like we discussed, it is not good business management to pull from our capital outlay fund into the general fund year after year after year. So we want to do the opt-out, so we don't pull from the capital outlay fund and get ourselves upside down. So the money we could bring in from the opt-out would offset the money that we are taking from the capital outlay fund. So we're not just adding money just to spend money. We're offsetting those taxes.
All the things for the students are staying the same. We just have to have that money to maintain what we're giving our students and how we're running.
Right. And I asked this last year, I said, what are you going to do with the capital outlay money that you're saving? Is there a spending plan for that?
We don't take it. We don't take the capital outlay money.
You have $1 million in capital outlay right now. That's just sitting there. Actually, it's 1.1, I think. And it would be bigger than that because we made a partial payment to the contractor for the HVAC. So
We can't transfer all of that to general fund.
you're spending about $200,000 a year out of your capital outlay funds. You're collecting about $800,000. I'm not a banker, but I can do basic math.
Okay, so, yeah, we did have the HVAC project, and the school board, whether it was this school board or the school board before them or the board before them, knew that that project was going to need to happen years ago. So they kept those funds in there so that they would be able to complete an HVAC project that we knew was going to cost over $1 million. Just today, we got a quote for one of the boilers. The computer thing on the front of it went down, and it will not run without it. That one part that they have to come put in is $17,000. That comes out of capital outlay. That account has to be there when we have a natural disaster happen, when we have something happen with one of our buses, and we have to buy a $60,000 bus. We plan for those things, and I know, and that's why we put the expenditures up there. You know, this year we are looking at a new curriculum for the elementary for the English Language Arts program. That is going to be about a $45,000 expense, and that is after I cut and negotiated and kind of haggled with them about a lot of different parts of that. It started at about $70,000, we're down to $45,000. So that is for the kids to have a really high quality curriculum, but also about as basic as we can get it to save those dollars. So just to answer your question, the goal is to not transfer those dollars. We also would ask less, hopefully, out to go into the capital outlay fund, but yet enough where we're maintaining enough dollars in there to cover the random $17,000 expense that we have to cover in order to keep the elementary even.
I just wanted to add that the dollars that we spend per student, some of those dollars are not just general fund
Is capital outlay capped at any amount? What would that amount be?
The question is capital outlay capped at any amount, and what would that be? I'll look for a every year we can take, it's all per student. Last year the number was $36.50 per student, and so it was $839,000 or something that we could have levied. We levied $750,000. There's no levy, there's no cap on what we can have in our cap outlay right now. That's the only fund that they don't cap. But there is a cap on how much we can take that we can levy.
Delton, I would challenge your point about excess funds in the capital outlay by saying that if you're short in the general fund and you need to borrow 45% of what you take in from capital outlay, let's say they have way too much money in capital outlay, they're not spending it. I agree with you. Raising taxpayer dollars that you're not going to use is bad. They've been forced for the past how many years to ask for about double what they need in capital outlay in order to transfer it to the general fund where it can be used. What they're trying to do is, and I don't mean to speak for the board here, let's say they have enough in capital outlay that they don't want to raise any more money in capital outlay. They want to raise $0 in capital outlay. If they have an opt-out authorizing them to raise more in the general fund, they can do 0 in the capital outlay. If they don't have authorization to raise more tax dollars in the general fund, they are forced to ask for about double what they need in the capital outlay fund in order to transfer 45% of it over to the general fund to pay salaries.
Is that capital outlay something that is that like a loan that has to be repaid, or that's like a grant?
Just tax dollars.
Tax dollars?
It's part of your tax levy.
Okay.
The question, make sure I repeat this right, the question was is the capital outlay like a loan that has to be repaid? And those revenues that we receive, is that, I want to make sure I'm understanding that right? Like, no, we keep those dollars for the expenses.
Yeah, but just tax dollars.
Like Adam was saying, we have to raise that capital outlay so high because we can only transfer 45% into the general fund. So we need to raise, simple math, $200,000 into general fund. We have to raise $400,000 in capital outlay to be able to do that. If you want to do the opt-out like we want, we only have to raise $200,000 to get $200,000. We don't have to absolutely raise it. Don't have to grab it to raise another $200,000 on top of it just to have the option.
Thank you. The tax levies rate for capital outlay is different than the general fund. So from an economics perspective, it makes sense not to take that big. Even if you were to include in the language for the opt-out, that you would reduce the opt-out levy by the same amount that you the capital outlay levy. If you reduce that levy by an amount equal to the amount your opt-out is, it would still cost taxpayers more because the tax levies are different.
Depending on the taxpayer. Some taxpayers it would cost less, some it would cost more.
$1 is $1, no matter what.
Well, for the ags, it costs less. For owner-occupied, well, it's about 20 to me extra in the opt-out. For businesses, it's $2.50. For ag, it's 53 cents. Now, in the capital outlay levies, your levy would be higher in the ag than in the opt-out. I guess that's the point I was thinking.
Adam, Adam, I've got a question. Do you know what the percentage raised in each of the classes is currently the way we're funding the school? Of the funding currently, our local effort currently, what percentage is raised from ag land versus owner occupied versus, what's the last one, non-ag?
I was asking, for our local effort in the general fund, what percentage is raised from the 3 different classes? I don't have that much on me, I'm sorry.
It's on that profile.
Isn't it on your Excel spreadsheet?
No,
No, it's not.
not the same.
Any-
I'm not sure if one of the slides, I mean,
I think it's safe to say ag is the most.
Yeah.
no, don't have that.
I guess it'd be nice to have the numbers. The point is that the ag producers, I would imagine, already pay a large amount of what the total tax is. Would that be accurate or not?
Yeah, probably, I mean, I don't know about the Gettysburg School District, I know that countywide, egg values make up like 80 to 85% of the total assessed value, but then again, egg is lower mill levy. I can say with confidence that egg pays more than the other 2 classes, but I don't know much about that.
Thank you.
Adam, if we back up the conversation quite a while ago, you gave me some numbers. It was like $598 million total in our school district.
Gettysburg School District total assessed value is about $355 million.
Okay, Hogan's was.
The portion of Hogan that is within Potter County is about $600 million.
Okay, in the city of Gettysburg, now this would obviously not all be owner occupied, there'd be businesses there, some would be owner occupied, some would be, but the city of Gettysburg, just the city limits of Gettysburg was almost 90 million. So it's 300 million and about 90 million. Obviously some of that would be owner occupied, some of that would be, you see where I'm going?
Yes.
So about 300 million.
Yes.
Well, no, that's total.
90 million, it
You'd almost
seems
have
like a
to
lot.
take out 90 million of it as the city. So it'd almost be just rough figures. I mean, this is just rough, real rough. But roughly there'd be about 90 million of residential in businesses and about 200 million of ag. I mean, that's pretty crude. But them are numbers that Adam give me several.
Relying heavily on our tax revenues. I think we have to have.
Seems like a lot.
Hey, I understand the legislature put everybody in pickle here with an unfunded mandate. But I deal with unfunded mandates all the time in my business. And I have to figure out how to try to do it. You're wanting 40 years for an opt-out. 4 years down the road when this sunsets, what are we going to do then? Your costs are going to probably double in this 4 years' time. Then where are we going to come? We're going to come with $1 million? I think that the better option is, we have 3 legislators in this school district, that we better go back to our legislators this summer and relay the message to him. This is probably every school board in the state of South Dakota needs to go to their legislators that this is not working. There's only so much blood in the turtle.
Preaching to the choir, Bob.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We often, I speak with our legislators often, and I guarantee you, superintendents, school boards, we're always having those conversations. The school funding formula does not work for our rural public schools. It's a problem, and so yes, we agree.
But legislators don't want to hear from school boards, they want to hear from the people.
Yes,
Well, I spend a lot of
please.
time in the legislature myself
Yeah.
with my business and stuff, and I guess I've never really question the education and the funding education, I deal more with how things affect my business with the mandates that they throw at me on a daily basis.
Where do you guys see it in 4 years? I mean, obviously we have to cash flow somehow. And all of us around here have helped out with the initial school, the hospital. We're not afraid to help the community at all, and I'm not afraid to help again. But I understand your point, Mr. Well, I mean, where are we in 4 years from now? Do we see anything coming up other than new legislation, or is that all we're open for?
The question, and it's a good one, is where do we see things going 4 years from now? And I don't have a great answer right now. The way things are going at the state, they have said multiple times, they are not in the business of funding declining enrollment, which basically says rural schools, fight it out and figure it out. That's what we're hearing from our state legislature. So we're in a tight spot, and I don't have a great answer, and it's frustrating. So that doesn't mean we quit. I mean, we keep talking to our legislators, we keep working on the funding formula, we keep trying to promote public education. South Dakota is a very rural state, so we have a lot of small schools and small school districts. So yeah, we're looking at that all of the time. I certainly don't have the answer, but we're always looking for one right now for this 4 years. You know, we want to not have to cut our FFA program, our music program, our FAFSA and CLA program. If we lose the programs that we currently have, we will lose kids. I guarantee it. And then we'll lose more funding, which means then we'll lose more teachers, and then we'll lose more kids. That is what I'm scared of. I know our community comes together for the hospital and for our school and the bond and things like that, and that's why I'm confident, you know, the community is going to come together and help us out, and it will at least give us a little bit more time to keep working on what those solutions are going to be.
Also, Barb and I, we talked about it, but the bond has 9 years left on it, or 11 years? 11 years, and so, not that it's going to happen when this one expires, but the bond repayment is to the tune of about $450,000 per year, correct? So those are for the facilities we're sitting in right now, and we have some really, really nice facilities that we are paying back on. But so in 11 years, you know, it changes things a lot. You know, it doesn't change in the next 5, but we got to fight our way to get that paid down. So whether that's through fundraising efforts to pay that off early or whatever else that might be, that would provide cash flow year over year that we're not paying back debt with. That money's spent, it's gone, and it looks beautiful, so it's no, you know, you can't, to me it's beating a dead horse. What should have been done, something had to be done with the school. That school board did the best they could, so I think you got to keep that in the back of your mind. Also with what they're doing with the Department of Education right now at the federal level, I think it's pretty scary what could trickle down. Our state does not have a great history or a great plan in place to fund rural education. And I agree with you, Bob, the fight belongs in Pierre. That's going to take time. It's not going to be done anytime soon. The last thing you want to do is run short on cash locally. So whether you can call it a savings account if you want to, but if you don't have a school that is going to pay their teachers, which is probably the saddest part on your whole slideshow, Amber, was where we rate with how we pay our educators. I mean, that stinks. They're taking it on the chin, and I would bet that they have as much responsibility as anybody, you know, because they've absorbed so many positions, and they're getting paid less.
More responsibility.
What I say? They get more responsibility and paid the same or less, and that's super frustrating because we've got 4 kids in school here. I think they do a phenomenal job educating the best they can. You know, and when you look at what our cost to educate students, $13,000 is higher than the $8,000 that the state comes up with. but it's a lot less than what other school districts have in similar situations.
To your point, Tyler, about the rural education piece, specifically in South Dakota.
Okay, pause, I'm gonna give him the microphone. You have a microphone, right? Because I was trying to remember. So
Yeah, I'm blaring into the ears. Yep.
That's what I was just going to say. So, to that rural education point, we've reached out to our legislators quite a few times and have actually had some stuff in the works. The biggest issue is we're kind of on an island with we are now. Legislation doesn't just go out to Potter County, South Dakota. It goes out to South Dakota, right? And so those three guys can work their butts off and have every single other person down in here say, kick rocks, dude, because we're more concerned about what's going on in Central Sioux Falls than we are in Potter County. And so, yeah, there's been quite a bit of evidence, like in your point, Bob, where we had Spencer come through and actually tried to write a piece of legislation that was centered more or less around us, and unfortunately couldn't get any legs running behind it. I think the fight isn't here, but it's just more of an uphill battle than what a lot of guys like to think that it is.
And I've had conversations with several, and there's a group of local individuals working that piece, but it's going to take time. That's not anything that's going to happen overnight.
Any other questions, comments?
As I look around here, I think I'm the oldest person here.
Congratulations, Ozier.
And I guess the reason that bothers me is because I keep thinking about, and I get to Holden about every day, and I taught Holden for 31 years. I get reminded of the fact that the last opt-out we had 36% vote. That's appalling to me. I guess, like I said, being the oldest one here, where's the other old people? And my argument is, I don't know how many people I talked to after that last opt-out that either didn't know about it, or if they knew about it, didn't know any information whatsoever. Now, a couple meetings and putting something in the paper, that's fine, that's great. The facts and figures don't mean anything to me because I'm going to vote for it no matter what. But the thing is, the people are for it, and I don't want to say who is and who isn't, but somebody, if that's to the board or whoever, somebody's got to get out and talk to grandma, aunt and uncle. And we've got a lot of people in this town that I call newbies. They're not really newbies, they've been here for a while, but they don't, maybe they don't have kids. If they do, they're not as interested in some financial things going to Gettysburg other than their own self. It just seems to me there's got to be more information given out if we're going to have more than 36% of the population that can vote on this issue. And like I said, I don't know who's going to do it. If somebody, door-to-door, handbills, I don't care what. If you're for it, like I said, that number's appalling to me. I guess that's all I can say.
Thank you. I agree, and I'm confident that we're going to have a much higher percentage. There is a lot of things that I learned from the last vote that I am trying, and we as, administration and board are trying to do differently. Barb and I do plan to go down to the senior center and present down there. I'm open to ideas. I mean, I'm obviously not afraid to talk, so I've shared with Rotary and things like that, and we do the paper and, but if there are other, civic groups or other, opportunities for any of us to go and share that information, we're always open to those things and happy to do that. But we do definitely need to get people out to vote and make informed votes. We need to make sure that our families and the parents of all of the kids, that's why we're all here. We're all here for the kids. So we need to make sure that we get all of the parents and the families and community members here to vote. I've heard more often than not, I've heard from several people that told me, hey, I'm so sorry, I just figured it would pass, so I just didn't come up and do it. And so I think there was a lot of that, so I hope I'm not overconfident, but I have been in this community my whole life, I know our community, and I'm confident in our community. I think people are going to show up this time, and I think that the opt-out's going to pass.
Is there a public list available so we know who's eligible to vote in the upcoming election?
At the auditor's office. You can get one at the auditor's office. Sorry. Adam just asked too about absentee voting. That is starting actually last Monday, so you can come anytime. Had my first one today. But you can stop in my office and absentee vote anytime from now until the election, which is April 8th. April 8th.
Get those printed out. Those don't. Just.
Yes, please come up and vote.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. I hate talking in public, but I agree with everything Dan said, and last year, whenever that happened last time, we talked about it at Country Club Golf, and then how poor the turnout was. I agree. To be honest with you, I forgot about it myself. It wasn't a deal where I thought it would pass and didn't do it. I'm going to vote for it too. Without a school, without a hospital, a town's dead. And we need to get out and do it. And we need to make people aware, like Dan said. And a lot of people don't. I agree. I mean, look at what's there, 50 people here today? It's a town of 1,000 people, whatever. I know some of those are kids and whatever, but don't be too overconfident that keep working.
Yeah. And that's where we need all of your help. I mean, like I said, suggestions on what else we can be doing. We're doing articles in the paper. We have our app. We have the website. Facebook, social media. Like I said, I've spoken with Rotary several times, but that's a small group of us. So if you think a door-to-door idea is something that we should get boots on the ground and go do that. That's something. I'm happy to spearhead a committee, and I remember doing that actually when we were talking about the school bond vote. And so maybe that is something that we need to do because I agree with you. I appreciate that. We're also counting on all of you to help spread the word, and even if you're not comfortable with some of the information or whatever, send them my way. Send them to any of us. I have several people that have spent hours, honestly, in my office just having a good, healthy debate or conversation or whatever you might, want to call it, and had great questions. Not all that I had the answers to, but I can always try to find them. So I always appreciate that. But just to wrap it up, if anybody else has comments, we don't have to close the meeting out, but I would like to thank all of the staff members that have shown up tonight. We have, I would say, probably half of our staff here, so if everybody can help me thank them, I'm really
Would anybody else like to speak, comment?
Chad, I got a question. Worst case scenario, if this does not pass, what's the time frame before we have to start cutting citizens?
Kevin just asked, what is the time frame if this does not pass? When do we start cutting stuff, cutting people, different situation? That is a very open-ended question because we're hoping that with what your wife is doing, bring some dollars into the situation. And tell you it's going to be 2 weeks from now, it's going to be 2 years from now. It all depends on what comes out from the legislature, what comes out from the federal side of things. Student enrollment. Yeah. I'd love to give you a date that this is it. We got all keys.
What economic drivers do we have in this town, guys? We have a hospital, we have a school, we have C&B operations, which they ended up moving, a lot of their corporate headquarters. Our best recruiting tool that we have is, we're sitting in the building right now. We have, what was the award you guys won here 2 years ago? The Blue Ribbon Award. I mean, that's, what's that say? I mean, is that like a top?
Excellence in education.
Excellence in education. I mean, what are we even talking about no for, guys? I honestly, I believe in what this is doing, and if we're going to grow, I mean, I've heard this town called a retirement community several times. That pisses me off. But it's going to take every front. It's going to take the school. We got the hospital. We've got the school. We need some housing. I think that's the next step. There's a lot of different steps. We can start growing again. It's not a lost battle. It's truly not. We say no to this, and all of a sudden people start moving away because we cut programs. What's that going to do? It's either going to raise tax burden on people, or your home values are going to go down, and then you lose equity. It can be a domino effect in a negative way if we don't support something like this. So,
Mike, I agree with what you're saying there.
Yep.
But one of the biggest things that we're fighting right now, we want people to move here, we want to grow.
Yep.
It's too expensive to live here. And I'm sorry, but I mean, I'm sorry, it just is. The house is too much. This just puts another burden on everybody. And I'm for it.
Yep.
Let me say that out loud.
Yeah.
I am for this.
Yep.
But realistically, you have to look at and go, why do people live in Holven? Why do they move here and go buy a house in Holven? Well, because they can go buy a house in Holven for half of what it costs. And they can drive over here and go to work.
Yep.
And that's why, to be honest with you, we need everybody to work with everybody so we can all survive.
Exactly.
Now, I get that we tried that. But that's where, I get the fiscal. But this is a very, very real, the cost of living, when we look at two 20-year-old kids that need to go to work at John Deere, go to work for you, go to work for me, work at the hospital, they can't afford to live here. I'm sorry, it's the truth. It just really is. Right. It's a hard truth, but it's a truth.
And that's what I'm saying.
And
you get some more housing.
I agree with Mike, but I hate to say this is not a business-friendly community. We do not support the businesses that are in this community, and they're not going to stay around. I've led it to the editor. I'm sure most of you probably read it. As a community, we do not support the businesses that are here.
One thing I do want to follow up with, Teresa Killian is working really, really hard on a lot of great fundraising ideas, and a lot of that will be coming out to the public in the next few months. And she did want to make sure that we know, and that the public knows, that even if the opt-out passes, she's going to do nothing but continue and put more energy into doing that. And we have also, we will help however we can. She's talking about, different programs, setting up a foundation where you want to donate a loaf breed or whatever it might be. They will have a foundation available where then we can say, here's what we need the dollars for. We will let them know what we're asking for those dollars for, and then they can make that donation to the general fund of the school. So let's say we say, okay, we need $90,000, and if they're able to do that, we're going to either not ask for opt-out dollars or ask for $90,000 less from the opt-out. So there are some other really great creative ideas and things going on where we can try to provide, some tax benefit, donation opportunities that could directly help our general fund.
And the purpose behind that was to sort of expand, so everything wasn't falling on the taxpayers.
The purpose behind it was so that all this expense is not on our taxpayers in our school district, but you graduated from here back in 1965 and you want to donate to Gettysburg School, now you can. I mean, you live in California. Just to try to broaden the horizon of people supporting the school is kind of the driving force behind it.
Are the school buses gonna go, like, if there was a town 20 miles away and there's one here, then?
The question was if students from other school districts wanted to come here, would we go bus those kids into the school district? I have asked questions about that. My understanding is that both districts have to agree for like our school district bus to cross their school district lines to go pick students up. So for instance, I visited with the Woolsey Washington superintendent because they have a lot of students that come from here. And so I think he said maybe 2 or 3 buses every day. They go to here and they pick up kids and bus them back. But they have an agreement between the districts that that's okay. So I can look more into it. My understanding right now is that it's, as long as both districts agree, and I haven't asked our area districts if they're okay with that. So they may very well say, you know, yeah, that's fine.
So they could say no, even though there's open enrollment, they could say you're busing.
As of right now, that's my understanding. Now, whether that would legally hold up, you know, I don't know the answer to that. The question was, for anybody listening in the public, was can another district, if they say no, then we're not allowed to, right?
But with open enrollment.
With open enrollment being the way it is, yes, in our state. And my understanding is that, yes, both districts have to agree, but it wouldn't hurt to look any further and see if there's
Such a unique divide that, you would have to get permission to go up the river from the, right?
depending on where you're at, yeah.
There was portions of the river that wasn't.
Yeah.
So you would have to get their permission to go to that area.
Right. We currently make sure that our buses stop, and students that are, I mean, we do have a lot of open enrolled students that are either, several in the Hogan district, but also some in like the ADO school district. They can come meet us at like one of those bus stops, but we do the stops in our district.
I think you know what I'm getting at.
Yes, I do, absolutely. And like I said, in all fairness, I haven't called Oneida or Hogan or Faulkton or anything like that and asked, you know, like, would you have a problem with us, you know, having a bus come to a certain point to pick up any open enrolled students each day? I haven't given them the opportunity to say no yet either. And so that's something that, you know, we certainly could look at doing.
Anybody else have anything they would like to present?
One simple thing to say is, and I know it's tough to do the opt-out deal, I get it. I don't know how many people know this about me and my family. My daughter Mia still attends school here. She completed but not graduated. But if it wasn't for the staff, the money that they spend in the school, and they had agreed to let my daughter stay, they didn't have to. They're taking their funds out of their general fund to help my daughter. And it could come to that point someday that they'll cut that fund for people like my daughter because they need it to keep the school going. And I understand that. And it almost makes me feel sad that I'm taken away from the general fund. I know, and I hear you. But it's what you gotta do. If you take pride in, the school does that. I know all schools do that too. Me, it's gonna be here this year and next year. She stayed in school till she's 21. They're funding my daughter. Someday they can say, no, we're not going to do special with people like that because we can't afford to do that anymore, and that can be taken away, from the schools. I don't ever want to see that happen. It's not only my daughter, there's other kids that come to school that attended after they graduated or got jobs here open, and they're paying for that. I know that. So I get to opt out. Nobody wants to pay extra taxes. I don't want to. Nobody here wants to. But I'm just telling you, the reason you're doing that, you're keeping my daughter in school. And I think all of you don't realize it, you probably didn't even know that. But if it wasn't for every one of you paying your taxes and raising taxes, my daughter wouldn't be able to go to school here. They've given her that opportunity. And they don't have to. They can cut that. I'm just saying we're talking about special education. It could come to that day that that's going to get cut. I don't want to see that either. And I'm not going to add a lot of money to this tax thing because I'm just a private community. I see like the Allmeyers, even my boss, like Lowe's and stuff that are going to, and Roush's, that are going to put a ton of money into this. Gables, whoever, there's lots of them. You can see all their names, I can't remember them all, but your taxes are what letting my daughter come to school. And someday that might not happen. And I don't want to see that happen. But there's a lot of special kids besides my daughter that come through the school and have come through the school. And have had that opportunity to stay. And I'm just saying, I'm thanking them for that. Like I said, I don't want to pay, nobody wants to see taxes. I don't want it, nobody does, I did. But I'm telling you, I think every one of you pat yourself on the back because you're the ones that have funded my daughter to stay in school this year and next year. So, thank you very much.
I appreciate that very much, Todd. And I do need to clarify a couple things. As a public school, we are federally mandated to provide services to any student ages 0 to 21 if they have any kind of special needs or disabilities. So, however, now you're going to make me go down a whole other rabbit hole, which I'm going to be very quick about, but one of the things that keeps coming up at the state legislature is vouchers. And basically what they're, the Department of Education, at the governor's office, they're really trying to prioritize parent choice in education. And I'm going to be very quick about this. In bigger communities, this maybe could work. They tried it in states with huge cities and it hasn't worked historically. It's been horrible. But they keep trying in the South Dakota legislature to have parent choice be something that we do in South Dakota. And the only reason I bring that up to everybody is because it's something everybody needs to be really aware of, because what they're doing is they're wanting to use public funds, public taxpayer dollars, to fund students to attend either private schools or to be homeschooled for those curriculum needs and technology, whatever those things might be. In my opinion, we already have parent choice. Parents can choose to homeschool their kids, and all they have to do is fill out a notification form. There are good private schools around. There are great homeschool families around, so I'm not saying those are bad things at all. But the thing is, when you're using public taxpayer dollars and you want to put those into those private schools or those homeschools, they can choose who they serve. And we don't do that, and I'm proud of that. Gettysburg Public Schools serves everyone. And that's what I think we really need to prioritize, and I hope the community will join me in just paying close attention each legislative session, because every year it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back stronger and stronger with a lot of money behind it to try to push these things through. We need to keep our public taxpayer dollars in the general fund. We need to keep those funds going to the general fund for public education so that we can make sure that any and all of our students with disabilities do have the opportunities that I agree with you. We have the best of the best here. We have the very best staff who provides the most amazing opportunities. And gets very creative in a small community where we don't have a ton of resources and things for all of our students, but our students with disabilities as well, to go learn new career opportunities, new skills, things like that. They are always working with all of the students to, bring in speakers or get the students out in local businesses or in the community to help them find what their skill sets are and what they're strong at and what they enjoy. So yes, we're small, but we have an outstanding staff, and we just want to make sure everybody votes yes, so we can keep it that way. So thank you, Taco. We appreciate that.
Anybody else? If not, once again, I'd like to thank everybody that came here, showed support, asked questions, wanted to be informed. Please spread the word. If you have anybody else that asks questions or anything, send them our way. We're more than happy to sit down and have a conversation. Please, April 8th, come out and vote. Show your support for the community.
One last thing, Bart, what about people out of town? If they can't make it back to vote, absentee ballots, can they be mailed or not mailed?
Yes, they can. They have to give me a call, email, whatever, and they have to request an application. I send them an application, I get it back, I send it back.
Perfect.
But where's that vote at? Because we started on Monday and elections in 2 weeks. So.
I think that's important for the list. All the college kids, everybody that might not come back and vote, they can still vote, even if they can't be here. So look at that list and see who you can reach out to make sure they can request their ballot.
Yes, do it right away, because our mail service isn't always the best.
Scotty had a question.
That vote's here at the school, April 8th?
Yeah, I have them in the business office, and we'll have the election actually in this gym on April 8th, along with the city. We're going to do it together.
Can we go vote tonight? Early voting?
Next
Yes, it'll be the outside vote, the school board vote, and the city vote. All right, thank you all for coming. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Can we put those up these when we come in?